Welcome back to the shooting channel, and welcome back to a film that I'm going to do that, I'm going to be honest, this is something I would have asked my father about and I'm a little bit confused. I have got a really stunning English gun. Now I know this particular brand wasn't particularly well thought of in those days. They were well thought of, but they built a lot of guns. This particular gun is completely hand built in England, in London, in Bond Street. It is one gun that is fabulous. As you can see, this is one of the most original guns that I've had on this channel. That has got the original case. Everything inside is original. It was sold 15 or 20 years ago for about £1,600, £1,700. £1,800. Why are things like this not worth £3,000 or £4,000? Why in this country do we not cherish things like this? If you take a classic car, an old classic car, the value of classic cars went up about 20 or 30 years ago through the roof because you cannot get them anymore. You try getting a gun that is as original condition as this specific gun. They're not out there anymore. Yes, in America, a lot of the Americans want guns like this and they'll pay good money for it. But this specific gun in England, why don't we look after our heritage? Why don't we keep that heritage in the UK? And why don't we try and push the market up for them? Because in 20 years time, 30 years time, there ain't going to be many of these. Especially if all my friendly Americans that's watching this go and buy them all and take them to America. And the UK gun trade, as a whole, are selling a lot of guns to America at the moment because they can't make any money on the guns in the UK. Comment below, is this something that we need to rebuild our history and our gun history like the car trade did 30 years ago? Is this something we need to work on and we need to keep these nice guns in the UK? I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think of a really original side-by-side in its original case with all the original paperwork on the case. So I am going to have a look now and I'm going to take this particular case, this gun out, and I'm going to have a shot with this gun. So if I open the case like that, again, if I go through the case, it's got the original Cogswell and Harrison London label in the case. It's got the original snap caps that would have been in the case when it was built. It's got the little oil bottle. Now if you look, even these are worth a lot of money. You can pick these up on Facebook, eBay, the old original ones, and they fetch a fair amount of money. It's got the original cleaning kit. Untouched. And I'm going to be honest, part of our issue is the auctions. Because they go in there and they don't, you can go to some of these auctions and you can pick these up for next to nothing. Why? Look after it. I mean, things like this are something that to me we should have in our history for years to come. I mean, if you look at the woodwork on that gun. Yes, it's a box lock. Yes, it's double trigger. But if you went and you bought a handmade gun today, what would you pay for it? And this, back in the days when this was built, this is probably more handmade than any of the guns that are built today. Because they didn't have the machines, they didn't have the technologies. There is hours and hours of work gone in to the engraving, to the stock, to the checkering. This particular gun hasn't been shot a great deal. Even the checkering is still look like it was new. But to get things like this, yes, it's got a few marks on the stock, but you would if you were that old. It's a straight hand stock, and then if I pull the barrels away, this specific gun is 28-inch barrels. I mean, you look at that, it is fantastic. You try and get a better gun. It's had an extension on, because obviously the guy that bought it years ago wanted an extension on it, but he's done it in a nice way. You try to find English guns like this, they're 10 of a penny now. You can't find them, because they've either been destroyed or been shot to pieces. With the original case, they're hard to come by. So comment below, what would you think a gun like this should be worth? We all know what they're worth on the current market at the moment. But okay, yes, you're all going to say, but it can't take still shot. But even if you just have it as part of a collection, you can sort the chokings out so you can have still shot. And at the moment, for the next 3 years, you can still have it. But why don't we have this? They're going to bring out something the same as they banned leaded petrol years ago, when you couldn't have leaded petrol. But there's leaded there's leaded ingredients that you can put in to be able to use old classic cars. So comment below, I'd love to hear what you think of some of these old classic English guns. Cogswell & Harrison, as I said to start with, yes, I know Cogswell & Harrison, they're not a Purdy, they're not a Boss, they're not a Rigby, but they did still make some nice guns. They made a lot of them, because in the day, they were actually a really, really good English gun that produced a lot of good quality guns. But let's see if we can push our values up and keep these guns in the country and keep our gun trade going, our English gun trade going. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shoot a few. Again, I'm using Ely Selects 21 grams for this particular review, because they are a nice soft little cartridge. You don't want to use a big cannon shell on these nice English guns. It doesn't look after them. So don't use cannon shells when you're shooting this. And I'd love to hear anyone's comments. I'd love to hear your comments. Are you looking, do you want to keep a gun like this in your collection? Is this something you'd like to keep? Even if you don't shoot it very often, comment below. What's your thoughts on nice English guns? I'd love to hear your thoughts. So, I'm going to shoot this a little bit. The one bit of kit from Bisley that you will always get is a handguard. Pull. 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 Again, the first thoughts I think of this particular gun is balances really well, just on the hinge pin. Got a nice bit of height in the gun. For an English gun, and normally English guns are fairly flat, this for an English gun, yes, it is quite low in the cone, but it's higher than a lot of English guns. The biggest thing I thought is I'm using Ely Selects 24 gram. They don't thump a lot. Yes, maybe if I was using a 28 gram heavy cartridge or a 30 gram game cartridge, But when you're shooting game, you only need 28 gram sixes. And you're standing in the field and you're enjoying the moment of standing in with a piece of English history, and you're going to just shoot a couple of birds out the sky. That's what they're for. Pull. 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 There you have it. 28-inch Cogswell & Harrison, as original as you can get. Lovely piece of wood, lovely case, all the bits and pieces that would have come with it when it was new. Comment below on what you think of keeping our English guns in our country and in our heritage. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think of this topic. Please like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button. It really helps us give you content like this. It's free to subscribe, so please hit that subscribe button. It really helps us to push out films like this, to get new people into our sport. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.